Hello and welcome to Hemp Hound TV. I'm Kevin Jones and this is your other host, Adrian Shepherd. How are you doing, sir?
Not so bad, not so bad. How are you on this fine Saturday afternoon?
I'm all good, sir. I tell you what, I am a little bit annoyed that I kind of missed International Bagpipe Day yesterday. I actually have a Kev the Piper Facebook page, and a friend of mine just literally messaged, said, Happy Bagpipe Day. And I was like, eep. Am I that distracted by this job that I've completely forgotten everything about an instrument that I've been playing since I was 11? Maybe the world's a little bit too hectic.
I'm quite horrified a bagpipe day exists, to be honest, but hey, that's for another discussion.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Marmite instrument anyway. And moving on to sensible things, we've got some new members to the Hemp Hound Agency. Dushi have joined, as well as Nature Can, Kanubu, and we've also got British Cannabis. They haven't got onto the directory yet. I'm just waiting for some content to do so. Welcome to the club, guys. Also, we've got Renewal, Revitalize, and Cannabiosfera. Great companies. They actually have a UNESCO approved biome in the northern part of Spain. It's absolutely stunning. I'll stick a little picture of their scenery straight after this. There we go. Nice, isn't it? But yes, past from there, we've also got a few more companies possibly joining, just kind of working out bits and pieces. Of course, these might be one of them. Get on. We'll talk about them possibly in later episodes. Thank you, folks. But past there, we've got a few bits and pieces to talk about. First and foremost, the yellow card MHRA report scheme has been thrown out there to the wider industry, and it's absolutely hysterical, as has been reported by Business Can, who basically said that the 10 fatalities that have been recorded on that list are basically ridiculous. Have you come across this story at all?
I have, yeah. I was reading it the other day when it sort of come to light, I guess. Yeah, lots of questions. I've got lots of questions about this article or whatever it is, data. Lots of questions.
Absolutely. Now, just kind of break this down. If you click the 10 fatalities, what you actually come across is quite a few reactions. So whereas there's 289 actual reports on the list, there are 874. Now, what's of interest immediately when you look at this list is that out of those 10 fatalities, 2 are marked as sex unknown and 1 is marked as age unknown. Right now, if you have a little look at all of the reports combined, you know, not just the fatalities, actually there's 51 that are marked as sex unknown, and was it 45 of them are age unknown. So we're already looking at an interesting list here.
Well, I mean, how can you report the results of some alleged effects that people have had without having all the information on what sex they are, how old they are? Just makes you question whether the results are genuine. I suspect they're not. And yeah, what's the point of the whole thing, really?
That's it. And these are figures that are being applied to the hemp and CBD industry. Obviously not to the letter, because if we did have deaths from food supplemental grade CBD products or cosmetics in that area or whatnot, I believe the industry would have been kind of dealt with quite quickly. But you know, there is just that general confusion. GW come out literally in the last couple of days in regards to this yellow card scheme. I've got a quote from them. Over recent years, we have seen a proliferation of CBD containing products across markets globally. We welcome the regulatory oversight of the MHRA and believe that this highlights that CBD is not a benign substance. It can present real safety risks if not used under the supervision and monitoring of a healthcare professional. Now, That's interesting words, certainly when you look at the categories that are on the list. Now, I find it interesting that we have categories such as general disorders and administration site conditions. Is that something that kind of...
No, and I think actually I would like to go right back to the beginning of that article or information. And so when it came out, I had a little look of, I haven't got it in front of me, but of some of the ingredients that they had allegedly got these results from. And they've named a few brands and a few other bits in there. On my research, none of those products listed or brands listed were actually CBD as a individual ingredient. All of those things were with another ingredient or another concoction that some business had made, which is a weird basis to produce this set of results on, I would say.
Actually, you're very right. I've got the names here, and let's just roll off one or two of interest. Celtic Winds Crop CBD. Now, whether they work on a cold press angle, so there's definitely got to be more in there than just CBD. And Doka CBD, but then we got Epidiolex and its EU name in that list, which we can say is more likely purely CBD minus a carrier and whatever. But then we got Noidex T17. That's THC rich buds. That shouldn't be there at all. And just to throw one or two more, CBD Brothers Blue Edition. You know, I know they're all about the whole plant. I don't think for a second that they actually deal with single cannabinoid based products. But further from there, we've got other Noidex T25 C25. But it's an obscure list without a doubt.
It's even with the whole plant, I would accept those results off a whole plant, but even like the Celtic Winds one, initially you think, oh, it's just cold press, that's a cold plant. But actually, when you look at that product, it's got other ingredients added to it, such as vitamins and whatnot. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is those results are nothing to do with CBD, or it's just not, it's not conclusive, is it?
That's right. And of course, if we go back to that category I mentioned, there's three more: general disorders and administrative site conditions. Obviously, the first one: injury, poisoning, and procedural complications. I mean, that doesn't sound like you know, a product for some of the companies that we've just read out there. Investigations, I believe this is in a clinical setting, either you know, in an autopsy sense or you know, an investigative sense. And further that, we have surgical and medical procedures. Now, we've actually got 3 deaths in that, one of which is sex unknown, and then you've got a few hundred, 147 of the reports, and I believe just over 280 of the actual reactions. That's quite interesting, of course, until you actually start to get to places where you would think there would be a legitimate or allegedly legitimate claim for a CBD product actually doing something. Although then we're actually looking to round up the 10 deaths in total, the inclusion of cardiac disorders, general disorders, and neoplasms, benign, malignant, and unspecified, psychiatric disorders, and vascular disorders. Now, this definitely does not sound like CBD, you know, consumer-focused products at all.
No, and I think, like I said, we're not talking about CBD as a singular ingredient according to that list, but also what's also not clear is this results of interactions with other medicines, or other, in which case, okay, we know that can happen, but it's not in that data anywhere. It's not in that information, is it? It clearly just says CBD and these are the results. It's all bad.
That's it. But there is, of course, the actual patents that GW have, which I think are of interest here, because they have patents that cover certain areas of that list. Certainly when it comes to neoplasms, that's kind of cancer related. Psychiatric disorders, we know that GW and Jazz have just basically secured the supplying rights to a global study for CBD versus psychosis. What else is there? You know, we've also got, I believe, gastrointestinal kind of issues that are labelled not so much with fatalities, but certainly with reactions. And how many of these trials do you think GW has possibly been going through that may be touching these areas because they're not for food products?
Yeah, and I think I guess there's several reasons to do a trial. Most people, it's just see the effectiveness of an ingredient or a drug or whatever. My mind says that anything that GW are doing is more to highlight the reason why they should have control of that ingredient rather than any benefits, you know, that you would normally do a trial for.
Do you feel? Sorry.
But you opened up a statement from GW saying we welcome MHRA or words to such effects. And then if you look at these sort of results, and then if you look at their patents that you've also mentioned, it just all points to the same thing. It's almost like we're having the same conversation every week, isn't it? They're pushing everybody into a corner to gain control. That's what it feels like. And every week more and more data comes out that just emphasizes that.
Yeah, and you know, to kind of rally all that control, it does seem that that list is being used to misrepresent CBD products as much as the 16 lab reports from the companies whose actually that could well be their adverse reactions list is being applied onto a food supplemental industry.
Yeah, I agree. It's very underhand is the word I'm going to use.
And I think that's a fair way of describing it, sir. And I think we don't really need to touch much on that. Of course, I will leave the Business Can article in regards to this, as well as the link to the yellow card scheme in the comment section. Feel free to check it out. There are certainly things of interest. Certainly,
there is one more bit of information I'd like to say on that data. Is they categorize it to is it non-serious, serious, and fatality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the terminology used? Well, if you look at the overall data, over 50% of the results are serious effects. You know, come on, I think we know that's not true. I'm not saying nobody has an effect to CBD. Of course, everybody's different, but I think working in the CBD industry, we would know if over 50% of people had a serious reaction to CBD as an ingredient.
Definitely. Well, that's the absurdity of that. Now let's kind of flip onto the Deloitte update. Now, I basically sent in a recent press request where the FSA replied in kind. Now, they don't seem to be too happy on kind of confirming whether or not Deloitte's interests were declared before they won the contract to independently review novel foods regulations. They also don't particularly want to recognize that they actually accepted a complaint from me in regards to conflicts in the industry, only to then 4 days later award that contract to a company that has ties to the company that I've complained that might have too many conflicts. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Now, they say that they made the contract tender for that available on the 19th of the 12th, 2022. Now, they've not confirmed whether or not they had announced it originally to the industry, considering that any kind of impact from that would be felt on a whole industry that's still stuck within novel foods craziness. You know, the hemp and CBD industry should have known that that contract was out. They also should have been informed that it had been won and by who. Now, all the FSA have turned around and said is that they put 2 listings up on the tender site, and they haven't kind of specified whether they've announced the winner other than a LinkedIn post. Now, we're talking duty of care thing area here now. You know, should the FSA have told us all the way through? They've not been absolutely transparent in any way, and you've got to kind of ask whether there is a deliberate intent on that.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because if you're in the CBD industry, you're pretty much guaranteed not to be happy with the way that novel food and CBD has been handled. So on one hand, you'd welcome this sort of thing that the FSA are doing, you know, to get an independent review. You'd welcome that because you'd go, oh, okay, yeah. But for some reason, they have kept it a secret. And already that makes you think, well, why is it a secret? What have they got to hide? Who's connected to it? And it's just a normal reaction. And yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know why that wasn't publicly announced, because it's actually a good thing if something's being reviewed, if it wasn't working. But yeah, I don't know. Very strange.
That's it. And of course, if they did follow the appropriate guidelines in just by publishing that contract on 19th 12th 22, why did they then recently feel the need to announce on LinkedIn only that Deloitte won that contract? Now, they still haven't released that information on their own website or any other social platform. But I mean, you know, Facebook and Insta, you could kind of think, all right, then you know, you could get away with not putting it there if you had that information on your website, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and does LinkedIn count as a official outlet of informing the public? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know companies that are Facebook heavy and companies that are LinkedIn heavy. I stay away from Insta because it scares me. The more platforms, the more kind of kerfuddled my head is going to get. But I have thought about it. Surely you would think that the base minimum would be sticking it on their website, making it easy to kind of find. But I've got a word search that I'll put the link in below for Deloitte in the FSA page. 4 listings come up, but none of them mention the contract to independently review novel foods regs.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I'm guessing it's officially all done and dusted now, isn't it? They've done the review, they've awarded the thing, but other than the LinkedIn, there's been no announcement. Unless they've got an OnlyFans page we're not aware about. Perhaps they're doing it on there. I mean, I've got one. It brings me in £1.50 a month, you know, so I don't blame them if they've got one as well.
Maybe that's a video for another time, mate. But yeah, it is weird. Why, you know, why say that you've done enough if you'd already done enough and then still post to say that it's out there? It is kind of duty of care as well. You know, at what point do the FSA have a legal obligation through that duty of care to inform the industry of something that would have massive ramifications? Now, I'll kind of throw this. I've gone to their LinkedIn page and I have seen that they have put out information on tenders in regards to allergen information. So you would assume that if they can do that, which is quite important within the world of food, obviously, then they could do exactly the same announcement with novel foods review.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. But they haven't, have they?
No, they have not. Bless them. Now, that is the confusion. You know, do they have to announce it? They say that they've done what they've got to do. We'll find out from you know, time as it goes by, because obviously these bits and pieces are going to be heard by them. It would be really nice if they did actually reply, though. Now, in regards to replying, I did actually let me just get this, ask Stephen Oliver from the Canna Consultant what he thought in regards to the availability or the visibility of the contract in itself, the awarding and whatnot. And this is what he had to say. Having viewed both of the FSA boards in December, where an update and assessment of their own regulated products' performance was provided, I am surprised this is not mentioned. There appears to have been what can only be described as a yo-yoing of information that appeared, and then, well, as if by magic, it was gone. I have not checked the London Gazette, but it is my opinion that this wasn't transparent from the off and is certainly not now. Who is contributing to this as yet unknown aims and objectives? Not those with the most direct experience of both CBD and the way the system has been managed for other foods. Now, this is fair play. I believe we kind of noticed a post the other day from the HFMA Health Foods Association, and they indicated that they had helped out Deloitte with their opinion on what needs to kind of change in novel foods regulations. Now, to be perfectly honest, Stephen's got a very good point, but I suspect the reason why no one's been asked specifically is because then it would indicate that all of this review is specifically about CBD products. Now, according to their members list for the HFMA, they do have Vitabiotics, who seem to have a connection with Brain's Bioceuticals, and Holland & Barrett. They also have another company who do call cold press products, as it goes, Nature's Bounty, but all of them have connections of sorts that I've seen to Deloitte through kind of buying and selling and whatnot in certain areas. So it's almost like Deloitte could have, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this might have happened, but Deloitte might have asked mates who have dealt with Deloitte before to kind of say, hey, we're going to ask for your opinion, and of course might help you all out in the long run. You know, what do you think of this? What will benefit, you know, without actually asking the wider you know, industry, as it were? Because Vitabiotics, like I said, they've only just got into CBD by all accounts. They've just got their products from Brain's Bioceutical, but they didn't release their products until late last year, even though they were validated well before that. Holland & Barrett haven't got their own product, but certainly it'd be interesting to see how they go. So what do you think? Should there have been better industry representation and a talk that's not quite about CBD products, but is, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the problem is, so there is within the food, I guess there is, you know, a few main what's the word, I guess, accrediting bodies or recognized bodies that perhaps should have been involved. Obviously at a business level, it's difficult to say, why wasn't I involved, why wasn't you involved, because then it becomes personal. But it doesn't feel like that's been asked or requested of anyone, or anyone else, or anyone of any importance or input in the food industry has been asked to have their opinion on it. So that is worrying.
I know they didn't ask me. I
Their
didn't have that
comment.
call. I was, well, no, I'm not surprised I didn't have that call, but certainly you would think in line with the way HFMA responded, you know, like, oh, we might have influenced the way that novel foods regulations will go from here. If any of the trade associations had been contacted for their input, they would have also trumpeted it right now. Equally as well with Stephen, you know, him and the kind of consultants are well recognized in the industry. Certainly they've got more answers to questions out of the FSA and other bodies than anyone else has. So the fact that they weren't approached, that's also of interest. But whilst people will say that it's not about novel foods, again, you know, it is, because we've got a whole industry in limbo looking at, I mean, I've only just started using the phrase sword of Damocles, but certainly it is swinging high, and anything can happen.
Yeah, it's frustrating, to say the least. Very frustrating.
frustrating, but you know, these things need to be questioned, and certainly that's what the Hemp Hound's all about. And the new companies that are joined, it's nice, they know that I am actually pushing for a level of common sense in the industry. And certainly if you're keeping an eye out on this, thinking what's the Hemp Hound doing, you know, feel free to give me a shout. We can talk about how membership works, and certainly why I write so many articles, you know. But so have we got anything else to talk about, Adrian? Tell me, sir.
I've just got something that's come into my head from the first thing we spoke about the yellow card thing. Is any of those ingredients synthetic? Are any of those ingredients synthetic?
Oh, see, I don't know. I've got
I
the
haven't
list
researched
here.
it. I just thought you might have done it because, you know, you've got time on your hands.
Yeah, that's a good call. Now I'm kind of scanning the names here at the moment, and I
I
can't
don't think it's
see.
obvious. I think it needs a bit more research, but I'm just curious. That's all. I've just wondered.
Oh, that's a fair comment, of course. For those who don't know what synthetic CBD is, it's apparently identical to natural, but it's engineered by tinkering around with streptococcus, who ultimately, I mean, you know, I get told off for saying it this way. They poop out, you know, sugars that are then ate by genetically modified yeast, who then poop out synthetic CBD. Now, there's an argument here that you've got the difference of a left and a right-handed molecule, right? And apparently, if memory serves, there's 130 times less binding potential of synthetic CBD to any cannabinoid receptors on the basis of it being a left hand or a right hand. Now, someone has said that you can do the equivalent reversal on synthetic, but when you hear of how it's made, I don't particularly want to be taking that stuff. And yeah, it would be interesting. Maybe I've got to drop a freedom of information to a request to see if those bits and pieces are recorded. And is there anything else, sir?
No, not from me. Not at all.
Right. Okay. This is probably one of the shortest ones ever. That kind of scares me. It's like when I have gone on a run of like 15-20 minute articles, and then all of a sudden I throw out a 5 minute update. It's like,
I think, though, to be fair, this one, obviously, the Deloitte is sort of week 2 or 3, so we're fairly well rehearsed on it, and we know what we're looking at. And I think when the yellow card thing come out, when I first saw the article, I can't remember if you shared it or whatever it was, I did read it quite hard and quite a few times because I was alarmed. There's been some cannabis deaths. If I read that, there's been some cannabis deaths, first in the world, but 10 of them, you know, no one knows about. You know, so that's why it piqued my interest. And then obviously I knew we would discuss it today. So I think that's why it's quick. The information was already here. Had some questions written down, and yeah, and I mean, to be honest, the questions are endless, but you know, people don't want to hear us spouting on for 3 hours.
well, you know, you hit on something there, because the government does have death statistics for synthetic cannabinoids,
Okay.
and you know, they go. They're a lot more than 10 since 2006, and yet they're still out there. Have there been long-term studies on that to determine its absolute safety? It's like I said, I wouldn't want to touch it. You know, I love the plant too much.
I mean, even now, just you know, some of the reactions or so. Again, I don't think these results are genuine, by the way, but let's pretend they were. We don't know if, okay, so I've already stated I don't know what ingredients are in there because they're all concoctions of people's various brands. But also, it doesn't state whether, you know, if it was old product that had turned rancid, or there's none of the food safety stuff that can also have an effect regardless of the ingredient, to give you those down or terrible effects, after effects that they are reporting on. So the whole thing isn't very clear, actually. And the more I think about it, the more it annoys me.
Yeah, the ear thing, you know, the labyrinth and inner ear infections category. That's one that got me. You know, I like to think I know about the good plant. I like to think I know a little bit about noise, playing a noisy musical instrument. But the idea of CBD potentially causing issues in that kind of way, it doesn't make sense to me. You know, if you're sticking it under the tongue, why is it giving you an earache? Are you sticking it in your ear canal? Then, of course, why are you sticking it in there? And equally, why? And how is that going to cause an infection? And of course, if that is GW products, oof, you know, why would you be sticking something so strong down your ear? That's another kind of.
Yeah, even didn't you say there was one about surgery?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What, we're doing CBD based surgery? What does that even mean?
Well, that is a fair question. I mean, to me, that's just medical trials. Hold on. Yeah, general disorders and administration site issues, injury, poisoning, and procedural complications, investigations, surgical and medical procedures. It don't sound like someone stubbed their toe after necking half a bottle of 20% full spectrum oil, does it? To me, that's monitored stuff, possibly with a medical professional.
Is there a way to verify those results?
It all depends on how much they want to really reply to an FOI. I've been told off for telling people for what I'm going to do, but that's the only way we could potentially get that information, and it should be verifiable. They should be able to have a link back to where or what that product was. But we are talking about, you know, stats that have got a lot of age unknown and sex unknown. So
it's almost another one of these distraction things, isn't it? Show them this so they can spend their time looking at this while we do something else over here. That's almost what it feels like. And the more I think about it now.
Hold on, you doing that conspiracy thing, sir?
You know me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, flat earth, or a foil hatter. But as we say every week, you just get pointed towards a rabbit hole with these insane things that they publish with no substantial evidence or nothing to it. Here's some information, load of people have been ill, there you go. Okay, now what?
Yeah, because normally when they do that, you know, people start kind of challenging it, and then they just stick the blinkers on, isn't it? It's like, oh, we can't see the questions that you're asking us as a result of the information that we've just provided. That's an ongoing frustration, I think, in the industry. Now, I think we should wrap it up. Obviously, I'll give you know, landrace wardens another little cheeky push, and of course, from there, I think we should call it day, sir. Have a great one, folks, and we will catch you again soon, hopefully with some common sense. And of course, when it comes to the Hemp Hound Agency, you know, I said about International Bagpipes Day. You know, people are happy that I'm not playing the bagpipes anymore. They'll be even happier if I had a few more members, because then it will completely take out the possibility of me picking up again. Like, you know, because
if that doesn't treble your membership, I don't know what will.
Yeah, join up to stop me playing bagpipes. That's basically what we're saying. So have a great one, and we'll catch you soon. Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.